my name is Georgette. We're going to talk about monopoly and price discrimination. In the perfect price discrimination, on the perfect market for price discrimination, when monopolies produces competitive quantity and charges each buyer they're willing to pay price. However, it is very difficult for the monopoly to know how much a customer is willing to pay, which means that monopolies holds a consumer surplus as profit ensures to avoid dealing deadweight lost. So, for instance, we see that the marginal cost is keeping an equilibrium along with the marginal revenue and the demand. Because in reality, perfect price discrimination does not exist. Firms' strategy is to classify customers into groups based on some characteristics related to how much are they willing to pay, or what is the price they are willing to pay. In the first market that we're going to be talking is going to be the monopoly, where we see that our marginal cost and our demand are going to be helping us to decide based on the quantity and based on the price as well. For instance, we have the marginal revenue that is going to be helping us to determine and then we're going to have our quantity. Quantity is going to help us here understand and then graph it on our graph. They're going to be able to plot it on our graph. Then we're going to have the price. The price is going to tell us how much is going to be costing for a unit. And then we're going to have an average total cost that is going to be defining by the first price, for instance here. And then it's going to be crossing along the line with our it's a little bit more like that, which is going to be our average total cost. Then average total cost is going to help us to understand the profit. So the profit is going to be now this defined here. So now we have the price that is crossing our line, and it's going to tell us that this is exactly how much profit was gained, how much profit is gained in a monopoly market. Let's suppose that we have a price of 200, and then how we're going to be able to know the quantity is by subtracting quantity from the price. Then we're going to have our marginal cost, which is going to be what we subtracted from our quantity over here from the same for the price. And then we're going to have price equals marginal revenue. And then we're going to subtract the 200 minus quantity equals quantity plus 40 plus quantity. And then our result is going to be 160, which is going to be equals to 4 times Q. And now we know that Q equals 80. So that is going to be tell us how much is going to be our quantity in order for us to plot in our graph. So we have a price, and it's going to be divided half, and then it's going to be 200 minus 40 times 80 is going to give us a result of 12,800 in revenue. We're going to have a consumer surplus is going to be 0, and deadweight loss is going to be 0. Then we're going to have a monopoly where our marginal revenue, lower price of units, and then the price of the next units is before the price discrimination. So again, we're trying to understand how the monopoly works. In the monopoly discrimination, we're going to observe that in this market, we're going to have, again, our demand curve, we have our price, we have our quantity, and what is going to be determined what is the quantity of the monopoly. Well, our average total cost and our marginal revenue are going to be intersecting, and that is how we're going to be able to determine that is our quantity of monopoly. And that is going to be setting the price in equilibrium. Then we're going to understand here with the airplane ticket fee market and a monopoly discrimination. In order for us to be able to get all these results, it is important that to understand that customers are willing to pay different prices at different levels. So for instance, our quantity and our price are going to be given us and determine what is our total revenue. So to always get the result for our total revenue, you have to remember the formula, which is quantity times price. And then we're going to be able to solve for the average revenue. Average revenue, you need to remember the formula that is going to be multiplying quantity times total revenue. And then to end, we're going to need to know how much is the marginal revenue. For marginal revenue, we need to remember that it's always going to be a change in total revenue divided by the change in quantity. So just to see an example here, we have hundreds of units, which is the quantity that we are selling in airplane tickets that are sold to passengers that are willing and eager to pay a high price. Quantity always has to do with times price equals total revenue, quantity times total revenue equals average revenue, and price should be equal to marginal revenue. For first class passengers, that's the first one we're going to see here in the market, is that they are willing to pay a higher cost. They're willing to pay. For first class passengers, since they're going to have so many commodities and exceptions in comparison to non-first class passengers. So the non-first class passenger ticket will be decreasing. For instance, let's say $20 or $50, they are willing to pay less in comparison to first class passengers that are willing and eager to pay a higher price for the commodities that the airline is going to be offering. Now, in this market also, so it is monopoly and it is discrimination, they're also classifying these customers who are willing to pay another upgrade just by being able to select the seating where they're going to be selecting in the airplane. If they want to select their seating in the seating from the seating chart, then they're gonna have to pay $20. But it's not a problem in monopoly discrimination because the customer is always willing to pay. So that's how it works with discrimination in monopoly. Price discrimination, not discrimination. Let me clear that out. Let me clarify that. It is price discrimination. So, for instance, if we have a $500 ticket that the consumer is willing and eager to pay for a first class passenger, and in comparison to non-first class passenger who wants to pay less, then we're going to have that our quantity and monopoly is going to be setting the market for the quantity. So in this price, let's say that we sell about 2,500 units at $300 price. And that's what's going to be letting us know that this is how much profit we're going to be earning here. So when we have our marginal cost and our average total price, they intersect. So then we see that in this market, all this is going to be part of what the revenue in the market is going to be for profit in a price discrimination market. when we're talking about monopoly. So the purpose is to maximize the profit. So remember that in the market with monopoly, and we are trying and eager to willing to understand that is selling the same good at different prices to different buyers. So the characteristics are to be using a price discrimination because only the customer, no matter what the price is, they are willing to pay a higher price to have an understanding for price discrimination. Okay, so that's how I understand price discrimination in monopoly market.